One more update here on the markets. On the 4th, this video will just be supply and demand zones, gap fills, and a little bit of Elliott wave, but not as much because gap fills and demand zones are just good to have on your chart so you know where it's likely to go, where it's likely to fall, that thing. So right now, there are no gap fills below us on QQQ. On the upside, we do have a gap fill at 364.41 still. So that's nice to know. Below, there's no gap fills. So if we eventually bounce after this, which we're probably going to, that's going to be my target right there. That will be the bounce target right there, somewhere between 364 and 371 will be the target. And below, this is actually really nice because I talked about how I think this is going to bottom between 347 and 348. Well, there is a demand zone right here. See how this candle basically hits the top of it, but didn't really come down that much more? Consider that a demand zone, and it already hit right here. So if we come down here at 347, 348, I would expect that to hold. But if that breaks and we go lower than that, the next demand zone is all the way down here at 332. So basically, you can just set up with two boxes here. This one goes from 347.84 to 352.76. So you can see we're likely to fall. We're bouncing right now, but that just gives you an opportunity to reload puts. And you're looking to sell the puts when it gets down in the box. On the upside, if you're swinging calls after we bottom, you're looking to sell those calls in this box right here. So you just have a range of trading between. We're in between it right now. As I said in the overall video, I expect basically this. And then that should complete the overall C wave. And then I would expect, at the minimum, probably something like that. But there's also a potential that we start the move to new highs. So those are the two possibilities. I would expect this to hold. Where is the 50 and the 20? The 20 is right where I'm talking about for the bounce. The 50 is also in that box. So I would be looking for a bounce to this box. The 200 is way below down here around this gap fill right here. So actually a pretty good, and I talked about this in the video last time too, don't be surprised if we get, this ends up being A, we bounce to this box up to the 20 or the 50, and then sell off down to the 200. Like that. So those two boxes are pretty helpful for your trading. This honestly isn't the best demand zone, but it's still a demand zone in my opinion because the next candle goes higher and we barely come back to the top of this candle. And we've already hit it one time and bounced out of it. So that is QQQ, supply, demand, gap fills, and then also moving averages. Not so much Elliott wave on this video. SPY is another great setup because we have a clear demand zone right here starting at 419.78 to 413.92. And what is the invalidation level? Invalidation level for this being wave 1 is 413.80, literally right below it. So if we're going to invalidate, it will break through this box, but this is a lot of support right here. So this is potentially wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4, and we're going to get a wave 5 higher. But if we come here and break this box into wave 1, then it's likely that this is a 5-wave move down. So we are basically in that. We're not quite into it yet. It starts at 419.90. So again, we're bouncing here pre-market. Another opportunity to load some puts. On the upside, though, I don't see very good supply zones until 438. On the 4 hour, there's one right here. So that'd probably be a pretty good zone too at 430 to 432. So if you're going to short here, you obviously want to have a tight stop because you don't want it to run to this zone and you're shorting around 423. Your risk reward is pretty bad. So you got to have a tight stop here. But it's more than likely we're going to fall into this box. And then again, it's if this is going to end up being a 5-wave move, I would actually lean 200 DMAs around 416. I would lean potentially come up here to this box at 430, as long as it doesn't break into 431.72. If it does break into that, let's say it goes all the way up here to 438, then we know it's an ABC move. But if it just comes to this box, then it's potentially this. And then it could break through this zone and potentially go below the 200 DMA. And then at that point, there's probably a demand zone lower than this. But for right now, this is the one to watch. And then the other one on the daily is at 438 to 443. 4 hour, 429.81 to 432.44. Only gap I see is at 438. And that's pretty much it for SPY. Tesla. This is a pretty good demand zone right here. We hit it already and bounced off, so this is a good demand zone. 220 to 235. And then we have a I'm not sure what this one is right here. I think this is a demand zone right here. So demand zone from the daily right here. We actually broke through it, but we reclaimed it. And the next supply zone is up here at 262. So whenever Tesla bounces, I expect it to come up here to 262. If it falls through this again, 246.87, it can fall all the way back here to 235, 220, and then below that, you have a gap here at 216. So Tesla, looking pretty good. Didn't really fall that much yesterday. Microsoft, you have a demand zone here at 308.60 to 306.33. I don't really see anything good besides that, unless you go on lower time frames. And there was one right here. We broke through it. But I still expect this to come up here to this demand zone, which is on the 4 hour. Really clear 4 hour demand zone here, or supply zone, I'm sorry. 324.96 to 329.71. So I would think that Microsoft's not going to break 306.38 if we go lower on QQQ. And then I would expect a bounce up here to 325. The dollar has a demand zone starting at 106.26 and 105.66. So it's fallen pretty hard today. We'll see how it does in this demand zone. Above it, we have a supply zone starting at 109.46 to 110.62. And that would be the 1.61 fib. That would be about as far as it could go if it does go higher. But again, it hit the 1.23 fib. It could be finished. And then the VIX has a demand zone down here at 1510, probably where it would go if we start bouncing. Above it, I don't see any good supply zones right now. Actually, this is probably the best supply zone right here. And that's at 2404. because we get this down move, and then this one doesn't really hit it, and then we come back here and tap it, and then fall off again. So 24 to 29, kind of around the March area. And what's interesting about that is, let's say we did top out right here, which is up a little bit today, but it fell a little bit last night. The 1.61 fib is right in the middle of that supply zone. So if we fall a little bit and then get the 1.61 fib, we could go all the way up here to 25, 26 in the VIX. So that's just a little video just on supply, demand, moving averages, gap fills. Mark those levels down on your chart. It'll make it a lot easier to trade because you'll know that you have a zone that's more than likely going to bounce out of. Whenever it hits this box, it's more than likely going to bounce out of the box. So that's it for this video. Just wanted to go over the key levels. Sometimes I think this video might be more helpful than Elliott Wave because Elliott Wave can be pretty complicated, and this is a lot easier for people to understand. So that's it. Leave me a comment, like, subscribe. Talk to you in a later video.